Hey, what's up, YouTube? Kenny here. So today we're going to talk about our arch nemesis, Nvidia. Got to give them some credit, though. Today they came out swinging for the fences on all fronts. And so we're going to go over the news, and then we're going to take a quick look at the fundamentals and the technicals as well, and see whether or not there is actually a play here or not. So today, Nvidia stock rallied towards basically record highs. That's after the chip makers annual conference kicked off with a rosy revenue outlook and a bunch of product announcements. So I'm going to go ahead and just read this straight off MarketWatch. So Nvidia, 5.62% was up more than 6%, hitting an intraday high of $613.16. Nvidia shares gained after CEO Jensen Huang announced that at its annual GTC Developers Conference a bunch of things. So the first thing that they announced is that the chip maker was launching its first data center central processing unit, or CPU, as opposed to its core graphics GPU product, which Nvidia is absolutely known for. This is a move that looks to compete directly with Intel and AMD. And so we know that Intel passed the baton. I didn't want to say passed the baton, got the baton stolen from AMD, especially in the server space recently. But now it looks like Nvidia wants to play too. So I really like this move from Nvidia. A lot of great synergies here. But that's not all, folks. So we already knew that Nvidia was working with NIO on their autonomous driving setup, especially when they launched that new sedan. That said, there were some big major announcements today for Nvidia all around. Volvo Cars announced today that it will use the new generation of high-powered chips from Nvidia to enable autonomous driving functions in future vehicles starting next year. So Jensen told investors today that it forecasts that it can generate $8 billion in revenue over the next 6 years from sales of its NVIDIA Drive automotive systems. Volvo Cars will use NVIDIA's new Drive Orin system with far more processing power than the current NVIDIA chips used in Volvo vehicles, starting with the new generation XC90 Sport Utility due to launch next year. So NVIDIA also said today that it is developing a new onboard computer system with an on-chip called Atlan that will give a car the computing power currently found in a data center. That is absolutely insane. The chip should be ready by about 2025, still 3 years off, NVIDIA said. Right now, NVIDIA is poised to dominate seriously, and I would say that if Jensen and team can execute competently on, say, like 90% of this, and do some of the things that they're alluding to, it does look like investors will be ready to reward them. In my eyes, with the current market sentiment and the conditions the way they are, and the way we're leaning towards, especially with the flights to safety, I think there's going to be more mega cap winners, i.e. like the FANG names, and it's probably only a matter of time that we're going to add an N to FANG. I mean, there's already two A's, so might as well just add another N. So FAANNG. All that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the fundamentals really quick here. So before we get in the fundamentals, I just want to talk to you about a concept that kind of plays out in the semiconductor space a lot. And if you're not familiar with the semiconductor space, then I'm just trying to showcase how this kind of fund flow moves. In terms of inflow, I don't see a lot. So I'm just going to take the big names right here. And as you can see, Nvidia up 4.13% at the time that I did this, and Intel down negative 4.8, and AMD down negative 4.3, and Xilinx obviously is going to match. The idea here is that really these are two companies, AMD and Xilinx, are going to merge, and then Intel. But if you kind of pull out here, what you see is in the dark is basically I'm showing the market cap of NVIDIA. So this is graphically graphically representing the portion of the market cap by size. So the visuals are, comparable. And so if I just take this over, and you can kind of see it's almost exactly a fund flow movement. And, minus all these small ones, for sure, like AVGO is not small, obviously, but, in comparison, in contrast, if you're looking at fund flows, this is pretty similar. So I'm just suggesting that I don't know that there's a lot of new money coming here. That it doesn't really speak substantially to the semiconductor space. More so that I'm just trying to say that there was a sell-off, and if we're thinking about fund flows, like in terms of bullish nature of money, this is a huge bullish signal for Nvidia. But even with that, it wasn't new money coming in. It was still money coming in from these other names. So if I would have liked to see, Intel and AMD go flat, and then Nvidia surge today, and that would have made me very bullish on the market as a whole. So I'm just trying to set you up for macro conditions. So there's just a little small kind of nuance that I'm looking at. And obviously this is not perfect, but I'm just saying as a snapshot, in conjunction with a bunch of other things, as we look for confluence, as we look for signal, this is one of the things that you can definitely start thinking about. So this is not going to be a real full breakdown or anything like that, but I just want to kind of show you just loosely what we're looking at. So market cap 355 billion. So we're not in the trillions lands yet, but we're really getting there, really pushing the mark here for especially a semiconductor play, if you want to call it that, even though it's mainly GPU, I would say at this point, right? A PE of 83.64. I mean, very high, but in contrast with a bunch of the comparables, still very high, which is what kind of makes me shy away from Nvidia in terms of buying it at these prices for sure. Institutional investment at 68.60%, which is actually quite low. So this is a retail-driven stock. I'm not saying it's low for any other reason. I'm not saying it's like a confidence issue with the funds or anything like that. I'm just suggesting that a lot of people who are retail money have it. Insider ownership only 0.30%, so nothing substantial here. In terms of like what it's doing over the course of the 20, the 50, and the 200, absolutely insane. Green. And volatility is still pretty high, especially in this space. So especially for the market cap for which it is moving really fast. That said, we'll go ahead and take a look at a quick look at the tip ranks. Shows that it's still under the current $647 price target, which is the mean for the analysts in general. But if you put up some recency, there was a reiteration today by Hans Morsman for 700, so he's calling for 700, super bullish there. But in general, the top three names last 3 days plus 620, 610, 700, so a couple slightly above or sitting right at the price target. Right now we're closed at 608. So if you're wondering what the analysts are saying, that's where we're generally at. So in terms of the stock analysis itself, we're definitely looking at outperform, especially with the momentum, 119% in the last 12 months, so trailing 12 months. Very bullish all the way around. Breaks investors actually not so bullish. Some insider selling here, but nothing massive. One sell transaction here looks pretty nominal relative to the market cap, and I'm not seeing a lot of other kind of weirdness going on. In terms of hedge funds, decreasing, slowly decreasing over time. I'm sure that there's going to be a big spike of fund flows once we see this quarter update here, though. So I'd have to check whale wisdom, but again, this is just a cursory look at this, so we're going to go ahead and pass on that. So go ahead and take a look at technicals real quick. So if you're new to this channel, we don't like to do a lot of crazy technical analysis. What we have going on here with this blue line is the 50 SMA. And so if you look at the green line as the top, the very tippity top, I would suggest that, that is kind of the channel that we play in. Really, the channel we play in is 586 here down in the second yellow line. And then the bottom of the channel, strong institutional memory, strong trading memory here at 460 for a nice little base all the way back till August. So we've definitely gotten comfortable in this channel, and the 50 SMA middle here, $530, looks like it's serving as a really good mean reversion line or intrinsic value line. So even though that we have this really strong spike with a lot of sentiment and a lot of good news based on the tech sell-off, it's still following a general pattern. This is the strongest igniting wick that we've seen in about a year. So that's definitely showing something. I would just suggest that really the play is here that if they do break, if we get a good, you want a let me see, if today was a 5% day, you want about a 3 to 4% break over 608. So if we get to like 615, very bullish for me there, and then we'll likely start trading above these levels. Do I think it's worth that much? Hard to say. I mean, I think AMD needs to run still. Intel has gotten a lot of credit for a bunch of things, and earnings is coming up for everybody. But I still think AMD needs to run. And I told you, based on that chart that I was showing you, that graphic representation, that the market itself isn't seeing a lot of inflows in semiconductors. It's more just rebalancing. So all that said, if it does trade up here, then there's going to be a very dominant position for AMD in terms of the way people are feeling about it. Do I think it can go back down and trade in here? If AMD comes out with some serious good news, it may run. But right now, Nvidia is holding the ball. Intel has been holding the ball for the last 6 months. Before that, AMD was holding the ball, and now Nvidia came out guns a-blazing. So we will definitely see. So in terms of technical analysis, do I think more likely it just bounces off the 50 SMA at this point? Yes. I think 530 is likely a near-term floor for now, especially with the sentiment right here. You want to look at sentiment decay too. If it takes about 4 days and we don't break through, I'm kind of going to be bearish and look for a bounce back down to the mean reversion line. But if we can break through 608 here, it definitely looks like it could take off, and I'll probably put on a trade. But for now, I'm just watching. Look at this volume, sick. I just actually representatively, it's not that. I mean, compared to where we were at, it's a lot. But I mean, as crowded as it was in September, not that much. Yeah, but I mean, in terms of what's here and who's playing the markets right now, a lot of sentiment going on right now. This candle would be a very strong igniting candle. So usually we'll see a pullback and then it'll run. So we'll see what happens tomorrow, but tomorrow is a big day. Just watching for now. I just really think that as an investor, I'm just trading too rich for me. I can't justify a buy here for Nvidia. I know there's a bunch of Nvidia bulls. If I'm missing something, go ahead and put it in the comments. I'd love to hear it. I'm not overwhelmingly bullish on Nvidia for a bunch of different reasons, a lot of which have to just do with their B2B kind of transactions and kind of how they play that role. And so for all those reasons, again, not a long-term investor with Nvidia. I do like their direction right now. So I'd love to get bullish here, and I might, looking really interesting right now, and they're making the right moves. I do got to see how these kind of B2B relationships play out, though. So, well, that's it for today. So, yeah, we will see you tomorrow.